Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today's episode is a little bit different. We have a Q&A. So I asked people on Instagram to send me their copywriting, business, marketing, strategy questions, all that kind of stuff. And we are just going to go through those and get right into it. So question number one is, what traits do you respect of fellow business owners and what don't you respect? For me, this kind of thing is always going to be fairly similar to the values that I try to hold myself and the things that I try not to do myself as well. Because I think that often we look for stuff in others that we try and embody in ourselves. So I find that the traits I really respect are just being prompt and doing what you say you would do. And that seems super obvious to say because we should all kind of do that anyway. But I think in a lot of industries, especially in marketing, in business, in copywriting, where there can be big promises that often aren't delivered on, it's actually quite rare to find someone who does truly live up to expectations. So that'd be number one. I also think just being prompt is very important as well. I feel that, maybe this is just me getting old and grouchy, but I feel that timekeeping and punctuality and just sticking to agreements is something that we kind of don't do as much now, or don't see as quite as important as we should do. So if I get someone who, they are generally there on time, they deliver work when they should do, they don't cancel late, all that kind of thing. Obviously, there will be extenuating circumstances, and I'll hold my hands up and say that I'm not the most prompt person in the world, but by and large, someone who kind of does what they say they're going to do, and they respect your time as much as they respect their own. On the flip side of that, what don't I respect is probably all the opposites of that. So people who are tardy, I think people who skip from one thing to another as well. Consistency for me is a massive thing. And so if I can see someone who's just jumping on the latest bandwagon, the latest trend, or someone who's trying to sell something that they're not really enough of an expert in yet, that is always a red flag. Question number two was, if you were to start from scratch today, what would you do with no mailing list, no contacts, etc.? I would say that this is a big one. I think a very good thing for people to think about if you run a business is, what would you do in that situation? And I'd always go back to the idea that business is all about people and all about a network. So my thing would be, go and find people who I could add value to. And this is going to be a bit of a hazy answer perhaps, because I'm not going to talk about here's the exact 5 steps I take, here's how I build a funnel, all that kind of thing. But I would look at, what do I have in my arsenal of skills I can offer to other people? And I go into that and I do that without expectation of getting paid, without expectation of particularly finding a certain business or a certain type of person. But I would go around, I'd look at maybe local businesses, I'd go to networking events, I'd go to posh hotels, places where ideally people with money hang out. And I would just try and talk to people, I'd tell them about what I did. So I'm assuming with this question, I've still got the skill sets of copywriting, marketing, strategy, all that kind of thing. And I would just try and make connections, and I'd say, look, I'd give them a no risk offer. So I would talk about, here's what I can maybe do for you, whether it's ideas, whether it's coming up with some sort of new offer, some positioning stuff, or whether it is a bit more hands-on with like email marketing, sales pages, all that kind of thing. And I just try and find ways to prove my worth, and then use them both as a way to get to other people to offer something similar, or I would ask if I could use them as a case study. So I'd use that case study, get a result, and then put that out there to the wider market and get more inbound leads coming my way. Question 3 is, if you had to start a business totally out of your sector, what would it be? I've got 2 answers to this one, because I think that one of them would be something based around a passion. So it probably would be ultra running or ultra endurance, resilience, that kind of thing. Just because I'm on the fence about this. I've had businesses around stuff that has been a hobby before, like when I was back in fitness, and there are definitely pros and cons to that. Like, the developing more expert knowledge is enjoyable, it's not that difficult, you've already got good base of knowledge, you've already got good contacts, that kind of thing. And I also think in this space, there are a lot of businesses, they're all saying the same things, they're selling the same stuff. So for me, coming at it from a marketing background, it's not that difficult to see places where we could really make a difference and stand out, whether that's with a type of product or whether it's with kind of a service. I think particularly in that space, there's a lot of people, it's almost like ultra running is the new triathlon, where you've got a large demographic who are kind of middle-aged and have a big amount of disposable income, and they're probably not being served at the moment, certainly not with high-end products and services, so I would go into that. The other option would be looking at like what we might deem a boring business, who just kind of gets by and does pretty well on word of mouth, on the fact they're in a sector where people need stuff. So whether it's like some sort of type of repair business, like repairing things like lifts/elevators, depending on whether you're UK or US, those sorts of businesses typically do quite well revenue-wise. They're used to spending money, but their marketing is quite generic and often very poor. So again, using my skills, I'd be like, right, what can I bring to a business like that? Wouldn't do any of the delivery myself, but I would see, right, where are the easy wins in terms of reaching a new demographic, tweaking the positioning so we can charge more and really gaining traction beyond just being another one of many in that industry. Question 4, do I need a social media presence to be a copywriter? Really good question, get this asked a lot. My very short answer is no. My longer answer is that I don't think social media is a bad thing at all. Obviously, I've built multiple social media profiles. I've used it in pretty much every business I have had. So I'm a big fan of social media because I enjoy it. But really, if you want to be a copywriter, the easiest way to get clients is go straight to the source. So it is going to be some form of direct outreach, whether that's cold outreach, whether that's warm outreach, but you want to be as personalized and as direct as you can. So if you're starting out, I say to people, look, a social media profile is a nice to have. You might get the odd client who says, oh, can I see your Instagram? Can I see your LinkedIn? All that kind of thing. If they ask that and you don't have one, you're a bit scuppered. I mean, there are ways around that. We can talk about, like, I use my social media for social. I'm just not that into doing social media for business. All those are perfectly valid reasons. But ultimately, you are going to get clients a lot quicker if you go direct to them. And again, that might be, as I said, like through social media, you can use your profiles to reach them, through email, through going to networking events, all those kinds of things. The reason where a social media profile can be useful though, is if you want to do things that are more like one-to-many. So if you want to eventually sell courses, you want to do coaching, or really if you just enjoy social media and you like doing it and you think you're pretty good at it, a lot of people do build their businesses that way, but I think if you are looking for clients now, that's a much more medium to long-term play, whereas going straight to that client with some form of outreach, that is a much quicker short-term play. Question 5, what's the best tool for AI editing? A really short answer here, whatever one you're going to use. I've tried a few of them. There really doesn't seem much difference with all the updates. They kind of change fairly frequently anyway. So my thing would just be pick one and don't worry too much about it. Question 6 is how good is AI? You could spend a load of time answering this. What I would say is that AI is very good for some things. It is excellent for research. It's excellent for editing and proofreading. And it can be really good at coming up with idea generation as well. But I view it in the sense of, like so many things, you need to know the rules before you know how to break them. The problem with just using AI straight off the bat, especially if you're a newer copywriter, is that you don't really know if the output is good or not. You've not quite honed your craft enough where you can look at something and go, okay, actually, yeah, that's amazing, but that's a bit crap. And that's the problem I see, is that you can often get copy that sounds good, but when you look at it through the lens of like humans being much more emotional, humans are not logical, we're not rational, AI does all the things that quote unquote should work. But in the real world, once you've got that eye and got that experience, you look at it and go, actually, yeah, that's not as hot as maybe a newer copywriter thinks it is. So it's that whole thing of like, it might sound great, is it going to do the job it needs to do? That's much more up in the air. So for me, I think definitely use it because it can help with workflow, it can help with productivity, it can help you like get through blank screen syndrome and help generate ideas, all that kind of thing. But see it for what it is, right? It's a conversational tool. It's something to bounce ideas around with, and it's there to help you fine tune. I would not simply rely on prompts and AI output to write good copy. Cool, next question. Has talking more about your UK/political issues affected business or client rapport at all? Really interesting question. For me, I always tell people that you can talk about your values and that can extend into politics, but I would never talk about political parties. And that's just me, because in my mind, I think political parties are kind of like football teams. They change, what they stand for changes, you know, the members of the party changes. If all you're saying is like, oh, you know, Labour this, Conservative that all the time, or if you're in the US, Democrats, Republicans, and I mean this without offending anyone, but it's almost like, have you got the critical thinking ability to show me your opinions, not just what a party is saying? So that's kind of my circle around that, is that I'm happy to talk about political and cultural issues, but you will never hear me talk about, oh, this party is great, just because I don't think that, it doesn't align with my ethos, let's say. If you're talking about current issues and you're talking in a way that aligns with your values, that can be very, very useful. Yes, it will piss off some people, but those people are probably not the ones who would have bought from you anyway. The ideal client for me to work with, whether it's someone in the FKS course, whether it's a coaching student, whether it's a client I'm writing copy for, if I post something, they're either going to agree with it, or they might disagree, but they will disagree respectfully, and they will understand that people have different opinions, and they'll see, okay, he's probably got, you know, there's a reason why he might think like that. Because when I look at people, I try and do the same. I might not agree with your stance on taxes or just say immigration, but I'm sure there's a reason why you think that, and I can respect the fact that you've got a right to have that opinion. If anyone is going to get overly emotional about an opinion that I hold, we're probably not going to work well together anyway. The stuff that I put out, I think aligns with most people I talk to anyway, because I'm a small government guy, I'm a low tax guy, I'm all about personal autonomy. So yeah, talking about things like the lockdowns we've had in the past, about, you know, mandated medical procedures, about the current tax situation, about how I personally feel entrepreneurs are being squeezed out of the UK and we are punishing people who do slightly better than average. Yeah, that probably pisses some people off, but it's probably going to get me, if not more clients, better quality clients, and also I just like talking about that stuff. So my thing would be, think less about political issues, think more about values, and within that, if what you're saying aligns with your values, you are probably okay to say it. Hope you found that Q&A interesting. If you've got questions you'd like me to answer as well, post them in the comments and I shall address them in the next Q&A.